Greetings and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, where the Mexican Socialist Republic continues its campaign to spread the union of peoples which it represents far and wide across the globe. Because, of course, the Mexican Socialist Republic, unlike certain other unions of people, or at least certain other nations within certain unions of peoples, knows full well that the challenges of this world must be faced together and not alone. But fortunately, the Mexican Socialist Republic is not handicapped by any such notions as democracy or voting, and therefore our glorious leader, Dino Enka here, is able to enforce his will and the spreading of the Union across the globe. Currently, we are targeting Bolivia. Bolivia is within our sights, and the most charismatic man alive, Guiado, is on his way down. Please forgive the slight slip from the political realities of the world of the MSR into IRL political realities. It won't happen again. At any rate, now Gallardo must decide how he is going to take Bolivia. Already, things have gotten a bit crazy. I mean, you know, it seems like a long time ago now that we lost revolutionary Peru to the machinations of Stalin. Where is he? Stalin, where are you, Stalin? You're over here somewhere. The evil and nefarious machinations of Stalin, who, of course, is thrilled at the idea of any kind of breakup of unions. Look, we're going to stop that right now. No more of that is going to occur. There'll be no more leakage, I swear to you. Maybe I'll do a Just Driving later, and I'll talk in more detail about other worlds and other realities which do not affect the glories of the Mexican Socialist Republic at all. Here, Gallardo needs to decide on a plan, and his previous plans, of course, the highlights of which include dressing up his soldiers as nuns and strolling into the capital of Colombia in order to take it, which, again, now, thanks Stalin, is not actually ours, although at least they are puppeted to us now. And, you know, the tale of Gallardo coming in with the nuns is legend amongst the Colombians. When on National Tequila Day, when everybody doubles their tequila rations, they often toast to the nuns, to Gallardo and his nuns. They toast as they down yet another shot of tequila. And everybody's generally quite happy about that. And of course, the Peruvian fishermen as well, another escapade. Now that it is revolutionary Peru, perhaps not quite so celebrated. The tequila rations in Peru, I hear, are pretty strict. I mean, as punishment to Stalin, we did kind of restrict exports of tequila to all of the Comintern bloc. But, you know, these things happen. Trade wars between nations that don't agree, that don't manage to get on with each other. It's inevitable. You're going to have conflict with these people. If you're not unified with others, then you are against others. That is the nature of such things. It's happened again. I apologize. All right, look, let's move on. Gallardo, what is your plan and what is actually going on here? First of all, we've got low supplies where you are. Of course, you are currently schlepping through the jungles of the Brazilian Socialist Republic, who are coming around to the ways of the Green Dawn. 16 of 18, that's not too bad. Where are we actually going to anyway? We're going to invade here. Well, we're going to come from here. That's 18 of 14, 8 of 14 currently, because of these Paraguayan forces that are in there at the moment. We really need to be careful about this, because we have no manpower at all. We have there is not a single man available to join the Mexican Socialist Republic. So I think I'm actually going to, and I got shouted at about this a little bit, so I'm going to try and be sensible here. We're not going to send in the whole of Gallardo's forces, because we just aren't going to be able to supply them through the jungle like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the mountaineers who, I mean, I suppose they could be of use. My kind of cunning plan here. Gallardo's cunning plan. Gallardo has sat down. He's had a good old tequila session. He's broken out his emergency supply of extra strong Cuban cigars, sealed himself up in a tent, and smoked until he was indeed once again of the Bene Gesserit, and was floating through the mists of time and space above planets and stars far from this place, until eventually a plan formulated in his head, which we are now going to work out exactly. Now, after a considerable amount of thought, I think I've come up with a decision. I mean, I think Gallardo has formulated a decision after he has now emerged from the tent The smoke from the extra strong Cuban cigars is wafting throughout the camp. He's staggered up, eyes bright, shining red, up to his commanders, and he has said, "We need to supply the tequila. We need to supply the tequila. Our troops will be useless without it, and also a lot of them will die. Of course, they're already dying from jungle fever, but, you know, more will die, and that is bad. So we're going to bring down just 2 units of infanteria to actually join up with the Paraguayan forces and begin the conflict, because I'm just not convinced we can supply enough tequila for the rest of them. These mountaineers, we're not really going to need until we're fighting in the mountains. Come down here, just kind of wait nearby, but not actually in. Likewise, we're going to send one of the Mexicos away as well. We're going to clear him out of the Amazonia region, and hopefully the Peruvian revolutionaries will just have to provide them with supplies and things. Otherwise, you know, what small amounts of tequila rations we do send in will no longer be arriving. These guys, I think, are just going to have to wait up here, I'm afraid. In fact, let's just add them to a different army so that we don't get confused. The Tanko Maximo, or Tanki Maximo, which is now also still and currently incorrect. I just can't get this right. Look, it's meant to be like this, I think, right? Tanki Maximo. Rename. There. Job done. Tanki Maximos, we definitely want them in, so let's bring them down. We'll bring them down to like there, and then we'll assess once they arrive just how good they are going to be. And the plan here, right, is that we're basically going to fight our way up through the jungle, as horrifying as that sounds, because then what we can do is we can share the supply of these 2 regions, and we can basically send troops back and forth. We can send in fresh troops to bolster our efforts without getting stuck in a position where we're potentially like massively out of supply. Although that will depend. If we can jump in here and like nab this region before it falls and fight up through the mountains, then we'll do that, and in which case we'll bring the 4 mountaineers. So the 4 mountaineers also need to come down. That is our cunning and subtle plan. Let us see if we can indeed execute this plan in due course. We need some rubber. We'll get some more of the King's Own rubber. We also don't have any convoys at all at the moment. Oil. We're doing okay in oil. It's fine. It's all good. It's all good. There is sufficient. As long as we have the convoy production, then we will be fine in the end. All will be well. Gallardo, now starting to recover from his mind-bending experience, has doled out the orders to his men. Support weapons 3 have been researched. Excellent. Should we just go straight on to support weapons 4? Let's do it. We might as well. We get more breakthrough and more defense. More breakthrough and more defense has to be a good thing, right? That has to be ultimately an amazing thing. We are low on supplies still. We're at the 16 of 12. See, this fact that we're low on supplies is going to be causing attrition to us. 48% attrition. Wow, that's a lot of attrition. That right there is a whole lot of attrition. This is actually another region down here as well, so once our troops actually get down there, hopefully it won't be so bad. World news, the Socialist Republic of Germany has capitulated. The West German government has gone into exile. Oh no, not the West German government. That's it. The Netherlands has taken them over. Right, okay, so we've got France and the Netherlands all the way along our border now. Martin Bustamante is standing there with his relatively, I mean, look at the size of his forces. 25. There's a 25 stack there. There's an 18 stack there. There's 8s and 9s all over the place. There's 12. There is a lot of forces here. There is a lot of forces. You know what? Actually, Bustamante, I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to send you to the port. Because if all goes horribly wrong and Europe decides to invade us, you're not going to be able to hold them off. So the best thing to do would just be for you to get your boys and do a runner on the first available canoe back to the Americas, and we'll just siege Germany. And once we've got a few more troops, we can maybe go out there and sort of, you know, sort it out and things. We've actually got enough political power. Let's just pause it for a second. We've got enough political power to change our recruitment laws and recruit some more people, which, let's face it, we kind of desperately need to do. So let us do precisely that. Mexican Socialist Republic, extensive conscription. Dino Enka is about to go live on the Mexican Socialist Televisia network and make an appeal and indeed a pronouncement to the people of the MSR. You must all do your duty and respect the fact that our enemies are many and kitten-eating And only by working together can we prevent these bourgeois elites of the world from overtaking us and undoing all of the wonderful work that we have commenced here. My friends, from this day forward, the service will be required. So be it. We do want to replace extensive conscription with service by requirement. We take a little bit of a hit to manufacturing, but now we have 917,000 odd people ready to join with us and be really kind of awesome. We're making like a lot of Infanteria Bravados here. I think we'll probably just make that one stack of 9, which we've got coming up. We've got a couple of truck Chicos on the way as well. Keep making the tanky Maximos for as long as possible. Shall I do? Oh, we'll just do one more. There we go. We'll do 2. That's 18 fresh Infanteria Bravados. That's a nice big pile of Infanteria Bravados to add to our awesome military forces. Some forces militaire. How's Gallardo's amazing plan coming? The most charismatic man alive. Also legendary for his plan making. Is still moving into position. They're still schlepping through the jungle, losing vast numbers of their troops, vast numbers of people to jungle fever and other such horrifying things, like, you know, being stung by something which then lays its eggs inside you and hatch out of your head and erupt in some kind of... I know these things happen in the jungle. Don't tell me that this doesn't happen. I know that it does. Infantry Equipment 3 has been researched. Excellent. We'll get to work on making those. I don't know if that includes some kind of anti-insect that stings you and causes things to erupt out of your head nets. Maybe it does. You would hope so, anyway. Currently we're researching rocket engines. That's on its way. Nuclear stuff. That's on its way. Yeah, nuclear stuff. 1944 for these. We could maybe start on strategic bombers or tactical bombers. Tanks, of course, tanks, super heavy tanks. Now, I'm pretty sure the sensible thing to do right now would be to take heavy tanks and then modern tanks, but super heavy tanks. I mean, come on, super heavy tanks. Who could resist the idea, the notion of a super heavy tank? Well, certainly not me, and certainly not generally the people of the Mexican Socialist Republic. And so the new tanky Maximos are underway, or the development of them is underway from the boffins, even as we speak. Good, excellent. Let's continue to wait for our forces to schlep through the jungle and eventually arrive. We could probably speed up time here a little bit. Speed up time and just wait for them to come in. I'm not sure if there's any actual fighting going on here. Look, we still apparently own this territory. I don't know, there's nothing we can actually do with it, but we own it, so, you know, that's alright. Look, we could actually deploy... We could deploy aeroplanes to the airfield here. Would that achieve anything? Would we be able to hold it just with the airfield? I think what would actually happen is, when enemy forces moved in, we would simply lose it. Libyan Socialist Republic has capitulated. The LBA communism underscore adj... The LBA communism adjective? The LBA communism adjective government? Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Possibly people have been smoking too many Cuban cigars. Government has gone into exile and their main forces have capitulated to France. France continues to become ever more dominant and ever more scary as it spreads its unique form of freedom and democracy to the world. Filthy freedom and nefarious democracy. Democracy which we all know does not work and cannot be trusted. But fortunately, look, our division to Infanteria has arrived. Infanteria Bravados, no less, with all of the awesomeness that it has at its disposal. And also, I was going to say our bases were no longer low on supply, but as it turns out, our bases are low on supply. In fact, it's here. We've only moved in 2 troops. 2 Infanteria Bravados, and we're also already massively over our available supply. But that's not ideal. It slows things down a little bit. I'm glad we didn't bring in any more. Wow. Yeah, obviously the Tequila Supply requirements are pretty extensive for the armed forces, the fighting men of the Mexican Socialist Republic. And, you know, we only have so many trucks, and trying to drive those trucks through the jungle, as it turns out, is actually pretty tricky. I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to drive a tequila truck through a jungle, but if you have, I think you will know that it's far from easy. But, you know, we will continue to... It would be nice if we could airdrop in tequila bombs for our troops. Maybe that's exactly what's happening now. Those are our planes, and they do appear to be dropping of the tequila upon the troops as we speak, which is, you know, our troops are not actually there yet, so I guess it's just a preparatory drop for the arrival of Gallardo and the first wave of forces. Gallardo, for this, I think probably has decided to get off his horse and just walk in, because, as it turns out, you know, it's probably not sensible for him to come in with his horsey troops. I don't know if it shows, but I've actually been gaining a bit of experience in other games of Hearts of Iron since the last time that I recorded this. In fact, since a couple of times ago, and you know, I've learned quite a lot in that time, and that is hopefully going to produce better results than would otherwise be the case, and perhaps people will be able to... Oh, look. We've arrived just as Paraguayan forces have apparently managed to force back the enemy from where we've just schlepped into. With our tequila supply lines being stretched as they are. Assembly line production has been completed by the boffins. Excellent, that's good news. I think 43 still, 8th of June 1943. I'm kind of tempted, like we're gonna get rocket engines soon, which means we can start work on jet engines. I'm kind of tempted to get close air support so that we can go straight to jet fighters like earlier. In fact, you know what? That's exactly what we're going to do. It's a little bit ahead of time. We have no ahead of time bonus on this. Can we get an ahead of time bonus? We could if we went for close air support effort, you know. Let's actually start that now. Let's start that now. But even so, I'm hoping that that will apply to the jet planes. Because otherwise, frankly, we'll be leaving on a jet plane. And we won't know until we've been back again. Or something along those lines. So let's get close air support. 3. Research that. And that will mean that we can then hopefully jump straight onto jet planes as soon as possible, and then we will have a mighty aerial force with which to face up to our many and various foes. How is Gallardo doing with his 2 units of Infanteria Bravados? He's slowly but surely getting into position. Likewise, we've actually just kind of moved these guys up. Supply issues are solved, though. I guess those tequila bombs have done the job. All of the tequila is now just distributed throughout the jungles of Paraguay and Bolivia, and you know, it's there ready and waiting. It's a bit like kind of, you know, like in a video game. They're just going to find them as they march in. Look, we're going to go straight in for an attack, straight away. Gallardo's not going to mess around. He's not going to wait for anything. He's tanked up on tequila and fresh Cuban cigars, and now is the time for him to immediately launch an attack, a jungle attack on Bolivian forces. It's been a long time coming. We've had to go a long way around in order to actually bring about this attack. And now that we're finally here, Gallardo is just, you know, he's just absolutely thrilled. He's probably got like a small cabal of jungle women that he has picked up along the way, and probably jungle men as well too, who have just chosen to follow him from the various and assorted lost tribes of the Amazon, who are kind of, you know, they're kind of like his entourage now. He couldn't convince very many of his original entourage, you know, like the Filmies and various other members of the Mexican Socialist Republic, to follow him on his mighty hike through the Amazon rainforest. Maybe there's like been a few film cameras, like, you know, the odd sort of like person from the film industry, but basically he's had to pick up an entirely new entourage, and as always, they adore him. I mean, what is not to adore? Look at him with his cocksure smile and his mustache and his general bravado and awesomeness. I think he's probably in his element right now. Loving life and loving war, as it turns out, which he is winning quite resoundingly. 88, 89. Oh, look, we can bring up this. This is something else that I discovered recently. Oh, it's gone. It's too late. Let's bring it up again. Now we're fighting a defensive war, which we've also just won. Let's slow time down a little bit so that we can absorb this. Also, it does actually help, believe it or not, to have the day-night cycle on, because night fighting is considerably harder than day fighting. So let's do that. We're going to take this region in the dawn. As soon as the dawn comes, we're going to just march straight in there. Look, here we go. Dawn has come. March in, bring up the battle report, and as you can see, our combat width availability for this is 80. We have a combat width of 80 because we took in two divisions with a combat width of 40 each, both of which are fighting. We have no reserves, but it shouldn't matter. We're going to win this one comfortably without having to bring in any fresh reserves. Gallardo is selecting many and various awesome tactics of his own, you know, off his own back. Look, night has fallen. Night has now fallen. I don't know if he's going to continue fighting through the night. I guess he does. We do have occasional air support turning up as well, in the form of tequila drops and Cuban cigar parachutists coming in to just put a Cuban cigar in Gallardo's mouth, just popping it in, lighting it, and then scampering off into the jungle, possibly cackling crazily whilst he's at it. So it can be useful to have the daylight cycle on, but I still find it kind of distracting and annoying, so I'm going to turn it off. Gallardo has taken another realm, though. As you can see, we're going to march up here and secure this. After this, we're going to have to cross a river, which isn't necessarily going to be that easy. Let's actually bring in one of these fresh Infanteria Bravados divisions. Oh, we can't. We have to wait till it's actually taken by us. There's no point in schlepping all the way around. There's no point in schlepping all the way around. We'll just wait. Once this region has been taken, we'll bring in a fresh unit just in case we need the additional weight of troops before pressing further along through the Bolivian rainforest. So my plan, I think I articulated it, but just in case I didn't, my cunning plan is to basically fight up along this border where I can keep bringing in fresh supplies if I need to, all the way around, and then come down and attack La Paz from the north, and then basically sweep round and conquer the rest of the country. Meanwhile, I'm expecting the Paraguayans to basically just keep fighting, more or less stalemating here. I mean, I don't know. That seems to be what they've been doing whilst we were marching through the jungle, was more or less fighting a stalemate. Possibly with our brave and heroic forces on their way through the jungle, distracting the forces of Bolivia. They might get a breakthrough there. I kind of hope they don't, because I don't want Paraguay to actually get any kind of reasonable war score out of this. I want us to have the overwhelming war score and be able to capture the whole of Bolivia, take the states to ourselves, and not have to share any of it with Paraguay. But if we have to share it with Paraguay, I mean, it's not the end of the world. At least they are in the Green Dawn after all, and therefore it's all good. It's all well and good. Look, our troops, it's kind of like building up their organization here a little bit. I think they should be gaining it. Yeah, recovery rate plus 28. We'll let them get their organization up, I think, to full before we go in and attack. You'll notice I'm just microing this. I'm not actually creating orders because, like, Gallardo's troops are scattered all over the place, and I'm kind of like micromanaging availability of supply. And if I were to give them orders, if I were going to create a front line, Gallardo would just keep trying to bring all of his men in, because once he's got a front line, he's like single-minded about it. He's like, I must bring my men immediately to the front line. Now, you can, there are things you can do about that, it's true, but I can't really be bothered with it. And the 50% bonus is nice, but it means we would have to slow down and wait for it to actually build up, which I'm not really keen to do, partly because of this whole, like, Paraguay. Look, I think they've actually made progress here. I think they have made progress. They have expanded around, which we don't really want. Organization is pretty much back up to full. I don't know how many forces there are here. Oh, look, he's just... Fine. You know what? If you're going to vacate that region, we'll cross the river here, and that will be perfect for us, because then we won't have to fight across the river. That's Gallardo has... Oh, he hasn't quite managed to pull off a glorious thing here, because Bolivian forces have moved up, and also this Paraguayan troop has decided he's going to get in on the action. This does not mean that this is your victory, Mr. Paraguayan force, if that's what you think. This is Gallardo and Gallardo alone making this awesome attack across the river, switching his target at the last minute. He kind of like, he ran a distraction campaign. He got his entourage of Amazonian women folk who he has picked up on his long march through the jungle, as previously discussed, and indeed menfolk, and he got them to basically dress up in MSR uniforms and go and kind of like run around shouting and screaming and kind of like showing their bottoms and other such things across the river, their bare cheeketh bottoms across the river to the Bolivian forces, in the hope of convincing them that we were actually trying to attack over there. It may not have worked, as it turns out. More Bolivian forces have turned up and seem to be intent on preventing us from actually managing to cross the river here. But, as you can see, it's not working for them at the moment. We are winning. We have a combat width of 120 because we've got Paraguayan forces combining with ours and across a larger border here, so yeah, that's why we totally get the bigger combat width, and indeed are winning quite resoundingly. As it turns out, it's probably a good idea that the Paraguayan, or a good thing that Paraguay has decided to join us, otherwise this may not have been a successful attack at all. Meanwhile, Paraguay seems to be having it a lot easier down in the south here. They're winning on two front attacks with 9 troops and 2 troops. Well, you know, these things happen. It's fine. We're still the best. We know that we're still the best, so that's all there is to it, really. Shall we have this one division stage a daring assault up here? No. No. That's not going to work. That is definitely not going to work. Can you join this force then? You'll come in as reserves, obviously, but it does mean that if we need to, we can swap out one of our tired and exhausted frontline units and have them swap out with this newly, freshly arrived from the Brazilian Socialist Republic with fresh piles of tequila and other such things. We are low on supply again now. 20 of 11. I think this goes up and down like crazy, but that's not good. That means we're going to be taking quite a lot of attrition damage off of the back of that. Look, here's our attrition. 30% from jungle, 10% from very hot. Attrition present 36%. So many of the troops falling to jungle fever. Look, and we're now actually losing. Okay, like, you know what? Stop. Abort that. Abort. It seems that our Paraguayan friends did not assist, and instead all that we've actually done here is we've drawn troops up from the south, which is allowing Paraguay an easier time of it down there, and we are now kind of stalled out here. Maybe... Has our Tanky Maximo arrived yet? It has not arrived. It is still on its way. It's still rumbling down through the rainforest, just kind of driving through trees and things, just smashing along. Not just a single tank, obviously. It's a whole column of tanks. It's a mass of Mexican tanks just cutting a swathe through the jungle, causing destruction and chaos everywhere they go. But frankly, they're trying to get to Gallardo as quickly as they possibly can. Look at these beleaguered forces. Wow, they're really beleaguered right now. Let's swap them out. We're going to send back this division and this division over here, and we're going to take this division and bring them in. It does mean they're going to suffer a bit more attrition as they march through the jungle, but frankly, I think I would rather, in fact, let's just send one through, because I think the supply issue is greater than having extra forces, especially at the moment. We'll just let this war rage on a bit down here. Hopefully some of Bolivia's troops will get drawn down. If not, we might have to wait for the tank to make a breakthrough. It's tough fighting, it's hard fighting, it's dangerous fighting as we fight on through the jungle. Gallardo also has noticed on occasion a strange blurry image in the trees around him, and he did at one point stumble across a load of dead and skinned bodies hung up in the trees. But it's probably nothing, so we're not going to worry ourselves about that just now. Instead, we shall put our minds to how to resolve this problem and how to formulate ever greater and more cunning plans for the ultimate conquest of La Paz. But it is, of course, going to have to wait, because we kind of run out of time. Look, Paraguay have made yet more progress. This is the last thing that I wanted to happen, honestly. I don't want Paraguay making progress. Bolivia, take all of your troops down the south. Don't worry about us. We're not going to do anything. We won't attack. It'll be fine. Maybe there's going to be some sort of plan revolving around convincing the Bolivians that we're actually their friends and that we're not going to attack at all. And then obviously attacking, because, you know, that's what you do. That's the way nations compete. If they can't get on, they compete. And on that note, I shall say goodbye. Thanks all for watching, everybody. I have been Weird Wizard, and I will see you later.